What's up, YouTube? Real quick, deep dive in P. Diddy's traffic investigation. It's worse than you think. This was given to me uh, almost a week ago. Feel like 2 weeks ago. We was behind on a lot of things. I had a lot of personal things I had to clean up because I left my job to actually do this full time. People say stop saying that. I'm just letting y'all know what's going on in my world to bring y'all this serious situation about. I didn't know it was this crazy, man. Border patrol stuff, something need to change. I'm just saying. Trafficking. Did I say that? Certain things you can't say because YouTube don't like you saying those type of things. Allegedly, we was at Make It Make Sense video, and he had the word allegedly just scrolling. That's the only word he had up there, allegedly. So be careful out here, y'all. Everybody be careful. Everybody's trying to live. And my whole thing is, why can't we just all concentrate a little more on just helping people? Why is it we have to go out of our way to hurt other people? I don't think, I think if we all take a little more of a millisecond to try to help people, try to do more help. I don't care if they deserve it or not. That's your opinion. Help people. So our channel, and I'm trying to make sure I focus back on trying to help people. I'm trying to help spread this information to people, and I guess they like the way I do it. So y'all hit that subscribe button, hit that bell. Let's check this thing out. Here we go. This was given to me by one of the subscribers so long ago, and I apologize. I can't even remember who gave it to me.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
And welcome back to Mile Higher Podcast, episode 295. Now, today, we got a real doozy of an episode for you guys. It's actually going to be pretty intense and mind-blowing. I'm sure a lot of you have been somewhat following the latest with P. Diddy. Now, you probably have seen that his homes were raided, that he is under investigation for sex trafficking, several other things. There have been
RICO investigation.
Yep. Some explosive lawsuits. But I feel like the average person kind of knows this is going on, but doesn't know the details of it. And to be honest, it is absolutely going to blow your mind if you have not heard what's
been up with Diddy all these years.
I mean, it is fucking insane. It is disgusting. It's disturbing and shocking.
Yeah, just like forewarning, this is right up there with Mr. Epstein.
Yeah, like it's that bad, for sure.
As far as the allegations go, he has not been charged with a crime as of recording this episode, but
not with these crimes, but
yeah, right. Well,
I mean, we're going to be going through the whole history.
It's so bad
we're
that
gonna
I
go
got to
through
get my snacks
the latest,
together.
all the different lawsuits, but we're also going to go back through his history and kind of how he got to where he is, which, I mean, even though this episode's going to be long, it's still like a brief overview.
Oh, very brief.
There's so much. But
lots
we're going to
of big names as well.
Lots of big names. We're going to be talking about Usher, Meek Mill, Justin Bieber, J-Lo,
Cassie.
Cassie. And what happened to Cassie is just beyond
horrific. Yeah.
Lil Rod, everything that he alleges. I mean, it's just insane. I could not believe it once we really dug in. Like, I had heard some things and have kind of been loosely following it, but didn't realize how deep this is and how disturbing it truly is. So fair warning. And we will give some more,
so
heads
people.
up when we get to some of these more disturbing parts and kind of let you know what's going to come. But Sean P. Diddy Combs has been in the music industry for over 30 years, working with everyone from Mariah Carey to Biggie Smalls, Usher, Justin Bieber. He's known for his outrageous parties and larger-than-life persona. But there is a much darker side to his wealth and fame, being named in several lawsuits since November of 2023, accusing him of physical abuse, sex and drug trafficking, the purchase and distribution of illegal firearms, consorting with and giving laced alcohol to minors, multiple instances of rape and sexual assault. And although not formally charged, like Josh said, these lawsuits have led to an investigation by the Southern District of New York, which culminated in massive raids of his LA and Miami homes. But accusations against Diddy have existed really since his career began, marring his rise to fame with connections to assault, pedophilia, and even the murders of Tupac Shakur and Biggie Smalls. So, do these accusations hold any truth? I mean, I would argue yes, but obviously we have to be careful here. Most of what we're going on has just been alleged, or what most of what we're talking about is alleged.
Right.
We need to protect ourselves legally here, but I think you'll have.
Well, I think it'll come down to, let's look at the number of testimonies we have here, and people's experiences, and it's really hard to sit there and dismiss all of them and be like, like Diddy has said himself via Instagram posts and other ways that everybody that's making these crazy allegations against him are just out for fast cash.
Yeah, of course.
And that's what they're looking for. And maybe there's people that are doing that, but it seems like a lot of these people have very, very detailed, intricate stories involving all of these allegations with Diddy. And it's hard to sit here and ignore all of them, obviously.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I highly doubt, why would you make some of this stuff up? It's just so horrific.
Drinks. Like,
it's not even something the average person would even come up with. You know what I mean? As a story like this.
Yeah. We just have to obviously say alleged because it's not confirmed as fact, but
suspects are innocent until proven guilty in the court of law.
All I got to say, in my opinion, P did it. So
Diddy done it.
Yeah.
That's what 50 Cent said.
That is what 50 Cent said.
I didn't say that.
Now, on the surface, Diddy doesn't look like our typical subject matter on this show. He has been a fixture in the music industry, and his power and fame is so legendary that it has inspired tons of other people to follow him, kind of as the blueprint. And he has a net worth of over $800 million, a supposedly happy family, and a hand in producing some of the most notable artists in pop and hip hop in history, from Biggie Smalls to Mace, to Usher, to Justin Bieber. I mean, it just goes on and on. But Diddy's career has been marred with violence, backstabbing, and allegations of sexual abuse and sex trafficking. And deaths related to Diddy have gone back as far as 1991. His name is always front and center when discussing the murders of Tupac Shakur and Biggie Smalls. And he has been publicly named in at least 4 lawsuits alleging brutal physical assaults and sexual violence, which have kind of always been a rumor until now. In November of 2023, Diddy's ex-girlfriend and singer Cassie Ventura filed a 35-page lawsuit against Diddy, alleging that he sexually assaulted her, physically abused her, forced her to engage in sexual acts with male sex workers for his pleasure, demanded and provided copious amounts of drugs to her, and raped her when she tried to end the relationship. Diddy settled the day after she filed her lawsuit, but it wasn't over. At least 3 others filed lawsuits against Diddy, alleging sex trafficking, rape, physical and sexual abuse, and statutory rape of minors. And while none of these were settled, and Diddy has to respond to them later this month, I mean, we're going to know more and more as time goes on here, but this was all before the most explosive lawsuit, which happened very recently when musician Lil Rod, who produced Diddy's most recent album, filed a nearly 74-page lawsuit against Diddy, alleging that Diddy assaulted him, refused to pay him for 13 months of full-time work, and also forced him to solicit and traffic sex workers. Additionally, Lil Rod alleged that Diddy trafficked and distributed illegal firearms, shot people and then paid off the police, consorted with minors who were given laced alcohol at his parties. And while Diddy did not settle the lawsuit, it led to dramatic raids of his homes, like I said, in Los Angeles and Miami, conducted by Homeland Security, which was huge news. And I've watched some of the news coverage on it. None of them really get into what is truly going on here.
Which they're not going to go do these raids if there's nothing.
No, obviously not.
You know what I
They
mean?
did them at the same time too.
So it makes me wonder how long they've been investigating him.
Oh, for sure.
To get to this point, and why now, right? Like, I'm very curious to see what they come up with, because they took a lot of stuff.
Yeah. And I mean, we do have to say, we don't technically know if Diddy is the target of these investigations.
Right.
It's his homes, though. And we know all of the other information that we're going to go over today. And there's a lot of it. That's kind of why I'm trying to zoom through, because we have so much to go over.
Well, even if it's not Diddy himself, it's most definitely people connected to him.
Yeah.
Or people who work for him, because they did detain others that were in the home as well.
Yep.
So it could be the entire organization as a whole.
Yep.
And not just Diddy himself. And
we do know that authorities searched for evidence of sex trafficking, confiscated computers, electronic equipment, and firearms from his properties. But we're really getting ahead of ourselves here. We will break all of these things down for you today and give you really a comprehensive look at what is going on up until this point. But first, we kind of have to
go
back
Diddy?
In time, understand where Diddy comes from in the context of his controversial rise to power. So P. Diddy was born Sean John Combs. A lot of you have probably heard of the brand Sean John. We were just looking at it. It looks like it's still sold on Amazon and at Walmart.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a Sean John piece in quite some time.
I don't know that it's in fashion anymore.
Yeah, probably not.
I don't know. I used to see it a lot in high school for sure.
Oh, I did too, yeah.
The Sean John jeans and...
Well, he was born November 4th, 1969 in the Harlem neighborhood of New York City to Janice and Melvin Combs. Janice was a model and a teacher's assistant, while Melvin was a retired Air Force serviceman. And the family wasn't wealthy, and Melvin ended up having to resort to drug dealing and gang activities to support his family. As an associate of crime kingpin Frank Lucas, who was immortalized in the 2007 film American Gangster, Melvin was a street-level dealer who sold heroin across the city. By all accounts, though, Melvin from what we know, seemed to be a good father and protected young Sean from his life of crime. The family enjoyed life in the city and sheltered Melvin's activities on the streets. That was until Melvin Combs was shot to death while sitting in his car on Central Park West. Melvin's murder is still unsolved to this day. Now, Janice worked multiple jobs to support her and Sean. The two of them moved to Mount Vernon, which is a suburb of New York, when he was 4. Mount Vernon was where Sean really came into his own, showing early signs of his competitive edge and interest in business. Sean was an altar boy and attended the all-boys Catholic school Mount St. Michael Academy, where he excelled in academics and was well-liked by other classmates. He also played football for the academy, where his mother gave him the nickname Puff for a few reasons. One, he would puff his chest out to look bigger and huff and puff when he didn't get his way, which kind of makes sense the more you know about him. Sean graduated from the academy in 1987 and attended the prestigious Howard University in Washington, D.C. the following school year. And at Howard, Sean started his first business and began throwing some big parties. Sean had joined a fraternity and began hosting these weekly parties, which reportedly attracted over 1,000 people. He also ran a shuttle business where attendees would pay to get picked up and dropped off from these parties. And his first year was very successful, and he really made a name for himself on campus as a young entrepreneur. And this reputation would only increase the following year.
Now, I'm not going to keep stopping it because it's a very long video, but that's facts, because I live right down the street from Howard University. I graduated in '86, but I'm his age, basically. I graduated 2 years behind because I was a bad boy myself. I'm not all that educated, but I did go to college and I got a degree and I started trying to better myself. But the reason why I'm so attached to this because I do music. So just to let people know, long story short, I was there. I seen him throwing these parties. I didn't know him. You know, I barely remember seeing him. But I went to some of these parties and stuff, man, and I'm shocked at all this because I always wanted to be part of Bad Boy or be like him. Everybody wanted to be successful in music. I'm no different.
While home in Mount Vernon during his first summer vacation away from Howard, Sean linked up with childhood friend Dwight Myers. Dwight, who was rapping under the name Heavy D, had just signed a lucrative deal with the new record label Uptown Records. Sean, who majored in business administration, was interested in joining the music industry. Heavy D offered to set up a meeting between Sean and the label's founder, 𝗟𝗓𝗡𝗏. Andre was a protege of Clive Davis, the legendary.
I was a big Heavy D
fan. Joining the music industry, Heavy D offered to set up a meeting between Sean and the label's founder, 𝗟𝗓𝗡𝗏. Andre was a protege of Clive Davis, the legendary founder of Arista Records, and he had just spun off his label to appeal to the youth market. We'll get into the rumors surrounding this later, but Andre took a keen interest in the 20-year-old Sean Combs and offered him an internship for the rest of the summer. Sean got a taste for fame by managing artists like Mary J. Blige and 𝗟𝗓𝗡𝗞𝗦. Andre saw that Sean had a knack for the music industry and wanted to continue his internship through the school year.
Sorry, y'all. Just so y'all know, that's 𝗟𝗓𝗡𝗞𝗦. So that's
for fame by managing artists like Mary J. Blige and 𝗟𝗓𝗡𝗞𝗦. Andre saw that Sean had a knack for the music industry and wanted to continue his internship through the school year. There was one problem, though. Janice Combs wouldn't let her son drop out of school for the internship, and Andre didn't want to let Sean go. So Sean would commute from Howard in Washington, D.C. to New York City twice a week, totaling 16 hours. Halfway through the school year, Andre offered Sean a full-time position as vice president of A&R at Uptown. This decision was unprecedented, as a 20-year-old intern being promoted straight to vice president within their first year at the company is still unheard of in the industry today. Of course, we'll get into the rumors surrounding this promotion, because there's obviously probably some other reasons for that. But Sean was officially a bigwig in the industry and began to go by his first nickname, Puff Daddy.
Puff Daddy.
I don't know about you, but I've always struggled with finding time to manage my finances. And at the end of a busy week, the last thing I want to do for me, my personal, your say, cancel, try to 5 million things. 9-year-old Usher lived with Puffy. Was constantly on the lookout for new artists. He would read hype sections and local music editorials to recruit up-and-coming artists. This is how a 13-year-old Usher lived with Puffy for over a year in the early 90s after his parents gave Puffy guardianship. Rumors surrounding Usher and Puffy's relationship have existed ever since, but here's a clip of Usher revealing his experience as a teenager on The Howard Stern Show. It's from August 22nd, 2016.
I moved to New York City, and I lived with Sean Puffy Combs for a year.
That's the crazy thing. Now, that was L.A. Reid's idea, right? We're sending you over to something called Puffy Flavor Camp.
There you go.
To learn
Flavor Camp.
Yeah, that's what it was called. And you're going to go to Puff Daddy's. He's going
in the 90s. Do you understand what that's like?
Puffy's place was like just filled with chicks and orgying like nonstop, right?
No, not really. I mean, but hey, it was curious. I got a chance to see some things.
Yeah, but you were 13. What were you seeing?
I went there to see the lifestyle.
Right.
And I saw it. And it was but I don't know if I could indulge and understand what I was even looking at. It was pretty wild.
So nobody tried to, some woman didn't come along.
I didn't say that.
Okay.
I didn't say that. What I did say is that there were very curious things taking place. And I didn't necessarily understand it.
Biggie Smalls was there.
Biggie Smalls was there. Lil' Kim, Craig Mack.
All these people are hanging around.
Yeah, man. Faith Evans. Jodeci, Mary J. Blige, they didn't know nothing about this shit.
Oh.
I was having a good time, you know what I mean?
Does he have you doing any chores? Are you doing dishes at all? I mean, to keep you humble somewhat? Or are you just like, can you stay up till 4 a.m. with them and party?
I mean, I could. I actually stayed up longer than them.
And what kind, do you have money? What's going on?
I mean, I had like per diem. I had like,
what
like
a
living.
life.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
14 years old. You're a dad now. Would you ever send your kid to Puffy camp?
Hell no.
See?
Hell no.
Yeah.
He seems kind of uncomfortable even talking about this.
Usher got to look back at this and say, dang, I kind of spilled a little too much. And then the icing on the cake was when he said, no, I wouldn't send my kids. But you send Justin Bieber. That's what a lot of people are saying. Allegedly. He sent them. That ain't allegedly, but you got to say allegedly to protect. We trying to protect these channels.
And like, he's obviously, knows he's on the show and he's just trying to like play along with it. And it's Howard Stern, of course.
Well, I think there's also some fear of P. Diddy there too, right?
Yeah. Well,
Possibly.
Is what he's going to out him on Howard Stern.
Well, he probably knows some shit that he's done, and who knows what could happen.
Well, this time was also when Puffy encountered his first controversy after he organized a charity celebrity basketball game at City College in Harlem. Diddy and Heavy D promoted the event, which took place inside the college gym, and Boyz II Men, Run DMC, 𝗟𝗓𝗡𝗞𝗦, and Big Daddy Kane were among the players that were set to perform on December 28th, 1991. For this event, there were 1,200 tickets available, and this is just for seats in the gym, which had a capacity of 2,700. However, nearly 5,000 people showed up hoping to get in. The line snaked downstairs to the gym's basement, and only one security team checked tickets and frisked attendees. Nearly an hour after the game was supposed to start, the gym was already well over capacity, and Puffy's poor security decided to close the building's doors. And that's when chaos ensued. Thousands broke through windows and doors and stampeded their way into the gym. In the end, 9 people were trampled to death, and at least 29 were injured. Puffy and Heavy D weren't held liable until a 1999 judge decision. Though Puffy said in 1998 that he dealt with the City College stampede, quote, every day of my life. He got right back to work, though, for Uptown after that fatal event. In 1992, Biggie and Puffy had just finished recording Biggie's debut album, Ready to Die. However, Uptown's parent company thought the lyrics were too violent and refused to release the album. Puffy, staying true to his huff and puff reputation, freaked out at Uptown's offices. Andre Harrell fired Puffy in 1993. In an interview with Oprah, Puffy said, quote, "So I got fired because there can't be 2 kings in one castle. I wasn't trying to be disrespectful to Andre, but I was fighting so hard." But Andre had a different telling of events. Let's take a look.
So my full-time job became managing Puff, and I was doing other things. So even when I let Puff go, for the whole time he was let go, he was always on payroll. Mm-hmm. I never stopped paying him until he found his next spot. His artists were always still getting per diem, because I didn't do it to hurt him, but obviously I knew it was time for him to grow. And the only way he could grow was if he was going to have the same kind of corporate conversations that I was subjected to. Mm-hmm. And then he would understand what he could and could not do. And the final straw for me was when MCA wanted me to not put out the Biggie Smalls album because they didn't like the subject matter, and they wanted me to tell him he's got to change his tone. And it wasn't up to me, I felt, to tell a generation what they could and could not do artistically. Mm-hmm. So I knew it wasn't going to work, because he was coming from a new space and a new era. The Dr. Dre Chronic album that came out, and that was a major influence over music. So whereas I had Heavy D, who was more like a happy, female-loving, uplifting kind of celebratory artist, Puff's Heavy D was Biggie Smalls. Yeah. And Biggie Smalls was more like in the streets and telling street stories, and he told them well.
And that was a transition in hip-hop.
And big in New York. Yeah. For New York. And Biggie Smalls ended up becoming my favorite rapper of all time. Mm-hmm. But I didn't want to sit there and be the one confining Puff, because the corporation was telling me to do that. I'm not built that way. Mm-hmm. So I told Puff he needs to go and create his own opportunity. You red hot. I'm really letting you go so you could get rich.
A much different version of events.
Yeah, completely different.
Mm-hmm. But again, this did not slow Puffy down. And by the end of 1993, Clive Davis had given Puffy his own label under Arista Records, Bad Boy. And rumors surround this arrangement too, as Andre was Clive Davis's protege before. But we will get to that later. What's important now is that with his own label and offices near Times Square, Puffy immediately went to work releasing Biggie's debut. Ready to Die was released in September of 1994 and was an immediate hit. The single Big Papa cracked the top 10 on Billboard's Hot 100 and pushed the album to platinum status. And while things were heating up for Puff and Biggie on the East Coast, West Coast label Death Row had cemented itself as a hip-hop heavyweight as well, with stars like Snoop Dogg and Tupac Shakur. And with the competition coming from Bad Boy, the two record companies would duke it out for the next several years, allegedly leading to multiple murders. And by this point, Death Row's beef with Bad Boy was only commercial. It was kind of a friendly competition between the two labels to see who could have the highest sales and the most popular artists. In 1994, Tupac was in New York to stand trial for the rape of Ayanna Jackson the previous year. And he had also recorded a feature verse for Biggie's debut and was sent to Quad Recording Studios to pick up his check. On November 30th, 1994, Tupac arrived at Quad and saw Bad Boy members, including Biggie, hanging out up on the balcony. And they waved to one another, and then Tupac enters the building. And while waiting for the elevator, masked men who were waiting for Tupac attacked him. They actually shot him 5 times before they stole over $40,000 worth of jewelry off of his body. Tupac was then rushed to the Bellevue Hospital on a stretcher, where this infamous photo was taken of him flipping off the camera. 3 hours post-operation, Tupac stood trial, which is crazy. And that was where he was eventually convicted of the rape and sentenced to 8 months in prison before Death Row CEO Suge Knight bailed him out pending an appeal in his case. Though again, we'll get into this later with all the other rumors, Tupac thought Puffy was behind the shooting, and he even believed members of Bad Boy were involved with Ayanna Jackson and that they wanted revenge. In early 1995, Biggie released Who Shot Ya?, which was seen mainly as a diss track that taunted Tupac for the 1994 shooting. And a few months later, during the acceptance speech at the Source Awards in New York, Suge dissed Bad Boy and was booed off the stage. And we actually have a clip of that too we can check out.
First of all, I'd like to thank God. Second of all, I'd like to thank my whole entire Death Row family, both sides, you know what I'm saying? I'd like to tell Tupac, keep his guards up. We ride with him. One other thing I'd like to say, any artist out there want to be an artist and want to stay a star, don't want to have to worry about the executive producer trying to be all in the video, all on the record, dancing. Come to Death Row.
Come to Death Row. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm trying my best to bring y'all the best video I can. And this mic picks up so much to the point that you can, and it's kind of echoing, and you can hear it in some of the videos, so we make corrections. But I remember watching the TV. Do y'all remember watching the TV at that award show? And he was saying that. I was like, then they put the camera on Puffy. You should have seen the look on Puffy's face. I haven't seen nobody. I remember because everybody knew he was talking about Puffy. But then when Suge got off stage, I don't know if they're going to show this, and Puffy kind of confronted him. He said, oh, no, I was talking about Andre Harrell or the other boy or something. He said he was talking about somebody different. I'm not going to say no names because I'd be mixing all the names up. So check
One
this
other
out,
thing
man.
I'd like to say, any artist out there want to be an artist and want to stay a star, don't want to have to worry about the executive producer trying to be all in the video, all on the record, dancing. Come to Death Row.
So later that same year at Jermaine Dupri's birthday party at a club in Atlanta, Puffy, Jermaine, and Puffy's security guard Wolf were all together. And suddenly Suge Knight and his best friend and bodyguard Big Jake walked in. Suge opened the door and approached Puffy and Jermaine and slapped Jermaine across the face. Puffy's bodyguard fought them, and soon all 5 of them were involved in a brawl. And obviously they were kicked out, and the fight just moved outside the club. And after much yelling, Puff and Suge actually sort of reached an understanding. And for a moment, their beef ended. But just a moment. Because then across the street, shots were fired from an unknown man. Now, the first shots were likely a cover-up. While everyone was paying attention to the unknown gunman, someone shot Big Jake in the back and actually killed him. And Wolf was charged with the murder, but ultimately beat his case. However, Suge blamed Puffy for the death of his best friend, and obviously from there, the beef only got worse. After his release from prison, Tupac released Hit 'Em Up, which was a diss track aimed at everyone involved in Bad Boy. In it, he claimed to have had sex with Biggie's wife, Faith Evans, and threatened Puffy as well. And so in a power move, Puffy planned a Bad Boy tour for the West Coast and hired famous Southside Crip Keefe D for security.
While the tour was uneventful, At the 1996 Soul Train Awards, Tupac allegedly pulled up on Puffy with hundreds of gang members. They burst backstage and Puffy allegedly hid underneath a car. Puffy, who had previously been untouchable, was now embarrassed. On September 7, 1996, Tupac and Suge were in Las Vegas for the Mike Tyson fight at the MGM Grand. Keefe D and his cousin Orlando Anderson were also in town. Orlando ran into Tupac and Suge at the casino and they got into a fight after Orlando claimed to have stolen a death row chain. After the fight, Tupac and Suge drove to a club when they stopped at a red light. Tupac leaned out of the passenger window to greet a woman shouting his name. Then a white Cadillac pulled up along the passenger side and shot multiple rounds at Tupac's car. Tupac was hit 4 times in the chest and died 6 days later from his wounds. In 2023, Keefe D was indicted for the murder of Tupac Shakur. Keefe D had admitted to being involved in the murder in 2008, but it was part of a proffer agreement, and his confession was not admissible in court. This meant that the Las Vegas Police Department had to do the entire investigation without the assistance of LA, which is why it took so long for an official indictment. We'll get into this later, but it's often rumored that Puffy was also directly involved in Tupac's murder.
And we do realize that a lot of you probably already know the details around Biggie and Tupac, but we felt like we should at least kind of go over it
quickly
once again, just to remind you,
it.
or for those of you who aren't as familiar.
Well, it's kind of like a domino effect too, you know. Like a lot of the things,
knowing what we know now, looking back at it, it's, you know, hindsight.
It helps to add context for sure. The year following, in 97, Puffy and the rest of the Bad Boy crew were invited to Soul Train Awards in LA. However, most of the artists were too scared to go, fearing retaliation for Tupac. Biggie especially didn't want to go, as he had just broken his femur due to a car accident, and Clive Davis had set him up to go to London that night to introduce himself to an international audience. Puffy didn't know that Clive had gone around him to schedule an international press conference for his artist, and he was pissed. He called Clive, screamed at him, and forced Biggie to attend the Soul Train Awards. Biggie and Puffy attended an after party at the Peterson Automobile Museum before Puffy forced Biggie to drive to Steve Stout's party in the Hollywood Hills. Rapper Mace warned them not to attend as he had seen Death Row affiliated cops at the Peterson party. Diddy ignored him, and the two left in separate vehicles. When Biggie's car stopped at a red light, an Impala pulled up alongside them and fired shots into the vehicle, and Biggie was killed on March 9th, 1997. What's crazy is there's still no official leads into Biggie's murder to this day, and as we'll get into later, Puffy is rumored to be at the center of both the murder of Tupac and Biggie Smalls. Puffy had just lost one of his closest friends and most famous artists, and this wouldn't be the last time he made headlines for acts of violence. Puffy had hoped that the deaths of Biggie Smalls and Tupac Shakur would bring an end to the craziness of the beef between Death Row and Bad Boy. In 1994, Puffy began the most intense relationship of his life with model Kim Porter. While Puffy has never married, he's had many high-profile relationships with the likes of Jennifer Lopez, Cameron Diaz, most recently Young Miami of the City Girls, and singer Cassie Ventura, who we'll get into later in more detail. Kim would last the longest, though, as the two's tumultuous relationship would be on and off again periodically up until 2007. Puffy actually adopted Kim's first son, Quincy, who she had with ex-spouse and musician I'll Be Sure, and they would go on to have 3 other children together, Christian, or King Combs, in 1998, and twin daughters Delilah and Jessie in 2006. Altogether, Diddy would have 7 children with 4 different women. Justin in December 1993, his oldest daughter Chance just months before the twins in 2006, and his youngest daughter was born in December of 2022. Even with the death of their most prominent artist, Bad Boy showed no signs of slowing down. Puffy had just signed Mace, whose album Harlem World was immensely popular and started a solo career. Diddy's own album, No Way Out, went platinum after selling 3.4 million copies and winning the Best Rap Album at the Grammys. Puffy's tribute song for Biggie, I'll Be Missing You, topped the Billboard Hot 100 for 11 weeks and won Best Rap Performance at the Grammys. And by the end of 1997, Bad Boy Entertainment had raked in nearly $100 million in recordings. Springtime is all about fresh air, fresh starts, and freshly cleaned homes, and it's the perfect time to give a fresh look at Simply Safe Home Security, the only home security system we use and recommend. We're huge fans of Simply Safe. One of the reasons I love them so much is truly how simple their system is. It's so simple that you could even install it yourself. And I love how customized the variety of indoor and fat layouts. I want you /
his bad boy reputation.
Safe. Like,
I save y'all a little bit.
simply safe.
And still, amidst all the success, Puffy couldn't help but live up to his bad boy reputation. In April of 1999, Puffy shot a music video with rapper Nas and his manager Steve Stoute. Stoute, the executive whose after-party Biggie was en route to before his tragic death, accommodated a last-minute request to include a scene of Puffy being crucified in the video. Now, Stoute honored Puffy's request and spent $14,000 to ensure that this made it into the video. However, Puffy then consulted with his mother and his pastor and decided that he wanted the scene removed, despite it already being edited and scheduled for release. And, you know, like we said, he did him a big favor by including this last minute anyway. So Stoute explained to Puff that he couldn't remove the scene anymore because the video had already been given the final cut and was slated to release, but that infuriated Puffy. Puffy showed up at Steve's office in Manhattan with 2 bodyguards and attacked him. Steve recalls, quote, "He punched me in the face, then grabbed the phone and bashed me in the head with it. 1 minute I'm in the middle of a meeting, and the next minute I'm down on the floor, and Puffy and his guys are kicking and pounding me. One of them picks up a chair and throws it at me, then Puffy throws my desk over, and they just walked out like nothing happened." Puffy also used a champagne bottle to bash Steve's head. Insanely violent. So then Puffy was arrested and faced nearly 7 years of jail time if convicted of this violent assault. However, while out on bail, Puffy publicly apologized and reportedly paid Steve $500,000 to drop the assault charges. And Steve agreed, and Puffy was only sentenced to 1 day of anger management classes. And as time went on, that 1 day, it really shows. On December 27th,
what can you learn in 1 day? Anger management class. Y'all should look that up. This is a sign right here. What anger management class? I never even thought any type of class to help a human being last 1 day. Come on, man. Something ain't right with
and
this
Puffy
stuff.
was only sentenced to 1 day of anger management classes. And as time went on, that 1 day, it really shows. On December 27th, 1999, Puffy and his new protege, Shyne, had just finished recording Shyne's first debut album. And to celebrate, the two joined Puffy's girlfriend at the time, who was Jennifer Lopez, at Club New York in Manhattan. Now, the night seemed to be a fairly ordinary night out on the town. That was until Diddy bumped into the notorious Brooklyn gangster, Matthew Scar Allen, and spilled his drink. And Scar felt disrespected and fought with Puffy and his entourage. Then one of Scar's associates threw a wad of cash at Puffy, and Puffy had to one-up them. So at 2:55 a.m., someone pulled out a gun and shot at Scar. Bullets whizzed past them and struck 3 people in the crowded nightclub. Thank God no one was killed from that, but clubgoer Natanya Rubin was hit in the nose. Shyne was arrested at the scene, while Jennifer Lopez and Puffy were arrested later that morning and released on a $10,000 bail. Both Puffy and Shyne were charged with weapons violation, including attempted murder. Puffy was...
Shout out to LaTanya. She has a channel. She goes live a lot. She tells her story. She talks to 𝗟𝗓𝗡. I had an opportunity to talk. To LaTanya Rubin. Great lady. She has been telling her story way before this Puffy stuff got arrested. And one thing she says that I want to say, and a lot of people say the same thing, if they wasn't covering up all this crap back then, and if the courts and everybody would have did what they were supposed to do back then, when Puffy shot her in the face allegedly, and Shyne, poor Shyne, took the fall and did 10 years. You got 2 people shooting in the club. Only one person went to jail. We wouldn't be talking about all this stuff. allegedly. If they would have taken care of business back then, and this is her story that she'd be telling. I just wanted to put that in there. So
Puffy were arrested later that morning and released on a $10,000 bail. Both Puffy and Shyne were charged with weapons violation, including attempted murder. Puffy was represented by Johnny Cochran, the famous lawyer who, he's really known for getting OJ acquitted during his murder trial. And in contrast, Shyne was represented by Murray Richmond, who was basically unknown. Scar did not even show up to court, but released a statement stating that Shyne and Puffy shot at him. So Puffy attempted to bribe his driver with $50,000 to say that the illegal firearm found on the scene was his, and even allegedly bought off a witness to say that Shyne committed the shooting. This witness would later go on to recant their statement, but the damage was done. After 7 weeks of trial, Puffy was acquitted of all charges, while Shyne was sentenced to 10 years in prison. He was released on October 6, 2009, and deported to his home country of Belize. And while he only released one record with Bad Boy Entertainment, Shyne became involved with the politics in Belize and even became the leader of the Belize United Democratic Party. And he did sign with Def Jam while incarcerated and released another album. Now, Natanya Rubin, the woman who was shot in the face at the nightclub, to this day claims that Puffy was the one who shot her. She sued Puffy for damages in 2008, and the two settled in 2011 for $130 million. Natanya has said that she would like the bullet fragments removed from her face so that they could be tested and traced to Diddy. Upon his acquittal, Puffy wanted to shed his bad boy reputation, and that's when he changed his name to P. Diddy. However, he had become known as something else, a cheap bastard, because you see, Diddy is currently worth $800 million, and while most of that wealth was earned through record sales and brand partnerships with Ciroc and De Leon Tequila, a lot of it also came from how Diddy handled his artists, because Diddy would sign young artists with these super predatory contracts, often with minimal signing bonuses and no way to get royalties. Their first albums would do exceptionally well, and of course, Diddy would make a lot of money, but when it came time to record their second, Diddy would not promote it. Sales would be low enough for him to cut the artist from the label, or he would just keep it in limbo when they requested a more fair contract. And he would actually charge them extreme prices to leave Bad Boy, and this would be known as the Bad Boy curse. Craig Mack, Diddy's first signee, never released his second album after he refused to fire his old manager and hire one of Diddy's employees. Biggie was killed before the release of his second album, Life After Death. Shyne was also on trial when his first album came out, and he resigned to Def Jam while in prison. Mase was also so disgusted by Diddy that after his first album, he straight up left the industry and became a pastor. However, he would release 2 more albums under Bad Boy to satisfy his contract, but Diddy responded that it was actually Mase who owed him $3 million, and Black Rob, whose single Whoa charted at number 43 on the Billboard Hot 100, actually died while homeless in 2021.
What? I didn't know he was homeless. Rest in peace. What? Oh my God, he was homeless? I didn't know that. I never knew that.
Million, and Black Rob, whose single Whoa charted at number 43 on the Billboard Hot 100, actually died while homeless in 2021. Rap supergroup The Lox, made up of Sheek Louch, Styles P, and Jadakiss, was signed for $25,000 and no royalties. And when they tried to renegotiate their contract after the success of their first album, Diddy, of course, refused. He even wanted to give them a signing bonus of, get this, no money, just matching Air Force One sneakers. What a deal. The Lox paid Diddy $3 million just to be released from their contract with Bad Boy and re-signed to Rough Riders. Diddy received half of their royalties for years, even after they had re-signed to a new label. And here's a clip of Diddy and the Lox arguing about the contract on live radio.
I saw you. I told you, let's get together, let's talk. You know what I'm saying? I told you I'm accessible. I said, if anything don't come, if there's somebody standing in the way for you expressing yourself, or any of y'all expressing yourself, y'all can come get at me directly. You know what I'm saying? All that throwing the refrigerator and you gonna kill, y'all ain't killing nobody, man. You know what I'm saying? We businessmen. We all mature adults say all that right there. I'm at my office. Y'all can sit on this interview with her and talk as long as y'all want to talk about it. Or you can take the invitation I gave you before. But it's not even getting there because of your get on the radio, whatever tactics. I ain't your enemy.
Dog,
You need to bang like that on cats that's coming at you. I ain't your enemy.
Just yesterday we got a note from your office
about killing
saying you don't have no idea of none of this or none of nothing.
Just yesterday, your lawyer told us that.
I see you at the show backstage. You said find out what it was.
But don't sit here and portray like Puff took nothing from y'all.
What is it? What is it? What do you call it?
If
what do you call it? What do you call it? And don't say we can come to your office or do none of that, because we can't do none of that. We can't handle it no other way but with lawyers, and you know that, so don't get on the radio and act like a tough guy or none of that.
Wait, you know how we can settle?
You acting tough.
I'm in my office, so why don't we stop talking on the radio?
No, you want people to stop talking because you just don't want to know the truth, dog. We made one record with you. Money I respect. It's 10 years later, and you still got half of our publishing. Now, there's no way you can make it justifiable that you deserve half of our publishing.
You never said nothing to my face. We just at the concert. You ain't saying nothing.
What are we going to do? Shave it to your face? Get sued? What do you want us to do? We can't touch. We can't be violent. Or none of that. We can't even have.
You saying all this, dog? 2 years ago, that was in Miami.
Let's recognize real. Y'all know where the office is at? There's a big sign on it. I'm up here.
The whole National Guard's downstairs, too. Cut it out.
I'm a grown-ass man, man.
You're a coward.
I don't take nothing.
You're a thief, coward. Don't say you're...
You're right.
Wow.
He is a coward.
Wow. That's
I know
crazy.
so many of you out there will relate to me when it comes to experiencing dressing room trauma in your past. I hate, loathe entirely going to the mall and going in the dressing rooms. I had you just only easy be more tipping your shirt. That
thing happened. The first album was Boy You Needed Some Help.
/Mile Higher.
So after losing most of its high-profile artists in the late 90s and early 2000s, Bad Boy needed some help. Diddy had started his infamous MTV reality show Making the Band and had signed acts out of it. But the same thing happened. The first album was acclaimed, and the second one never came or just simply flopped. Then in 2006, Diddy heard Cassie Ventura's first single, Me and You, a great song that many of us have heard.
I loved that song.
Really good. I wish we could play it for you if you haven't heard it, but look it up.
I think most people know it. It was huge.
Well, Diddy heard it while at a club in New Jersey, and the song was a hit in Europe and found its way through the club scene in New York. Diddy immediately signed Cassie when she was 19 and he was 38. And then the two entered into a decade-long relationship. And we'll discuss the relationship in depth soon, but it was tumultuous, to say the least. The two were on and off, and Diddy fathered children with other women, and Cassie's career suffered. Her first album is credited with revitalizing Bad Boy, but after that, her career deflated, as her second album kept getting put off until her singles were released to an underwhelming reception. The relationship officially ended in 2018, and Cassie completely split from Bad Boy after they broke it off. And remember when we said that Diddy tried to shed his violent Bad Boy persona? Yeah, that didn't happen either. In 2015, while Justin Combs was attending UCLA, Diddy was charged with assault with a deadly weapon after the football coach just yelled at his son. Diddy told him he couldn't speak to his son that way, to which the coach responded, quote, "I'm here, he's my player." Diddy allegedly fought the coach and ended it after he swung a kettlebell at the coach's head. So Diddy's clearly just violent and unhinged. The two settled out of court, of course, and the DA dropped criminal charges against Diddy. Suge Knight, Diddy's former rival, was convicted of voluntary manslaughter for the 2015 killing of record producer Terry Kennedy with his car. Witnesses claim that Suge did it intentionally, and Suge won't be eligible for parole until 2034. Then in November 2018, Kim Porter died after a sudden bout of lobar pneumonia. Diddy said that her final words to him were, quote, "Take care of my babies." Her death is suspicious, but it's only rumors, so we'll look into that later as well. What's important to note is that, to this day, Diddy refers to Kim as the love of his life. In 2017, Diddy's former chef, Cindy Ruella, sued him, Cindy claimed sexual harassment and failure to pay overtime. Diddy allegedly forced Cindy to work long hours and travel for weeks at a time, all without extra pay. And then it gets even worse. He would allegedly request her to serve him breakfast while he was having sex and would often see the mogul and other male guests naked. They settled 2 years later for an undisclosed amount. Things remained relatively quiet for Diddy in the years following Kim's death. Bad Boy lost more artists, and only 5 people remained signed to the label, including Diddy himself and his sons Christian and Quincy. To increase his wealth, Diddy turned to more brand merchandising deals and created the Revolt TV network. Then in 2022, New York State passed the Adult Survivors Act, which created a 1-year window for survivors of sexual offenses to file civil suits against their perpetrators, even if it was outside of the statute of limitations. And this is the act that led to Trump being found liable for sexually abusing columnist E. Jean Carroll in 1996. Carroll was awarded $5 million, and the suit was settled. Diddy seemed to avoid any new lawsuits, even though rumors had long surrounded his sexual behaviors. Then on November 16th, 2023, Diddy's ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, filed a 35-page civil suit against the producer. In the lawsuit, Cassie alleged Diddy not only raped her in her own home, but also beat her on numerous occasions, blew up Kid Cudi's car, tried to kill Suge Knight, and most notably, forced her to engage in sex acts with male sex workers while he subdued her with a litany of drugs. This lawsuit details their early days. In February 2006, Diddy signed Cassie to a 10-album deal, and her first self-titled album debuted at number 4 on Billboard 200. Cassie was nervous in the early press for the album. Diddy said, quote, "You could hear the nervousness in her voice. And to be honest, I kind of smiled at it because it made me really appreciate what I really loved about her. She's a regular person. It made me, to be honest, you've got to understand that success for her is coming out of nowhere. It's just so huge, and sometimes everybody handles it differently." This statement denoted an early paternalistic relationship between the two, as Diddy allegedly wanted to be her guardian, or rather, just have control over her. In November 2006, Diddy invited Cassie to perform his song Come to Me alongside him at the MTV Europe Awards in Copenhagen. Diddy walked around their hotel in a robe with a drink in his hand, showing off his lavish party lifestyle. And during hair and makeup before the performance, Cassie's hairstylist told Cassie that Diddy was interested in her. Given their considerable age gap, Cassie chalked it up to gossip, but was disgusted. Diddy inserted himself into Cassie's personal life soon after. He invited himself to her 21st birthday and showed up with a celebrity entourage. Although Diddy was publicly dating Kim Porter and Cassie had a relationship of her own, this didn't stop Diddy from pursuing her. At the after party for Cassie's 21st birthday, Diddy allegedly pulled Cassie into a bathroom and forcibly kissed her. Cassie did not consent and ran out crying. She only told her best friend because she was too scared to tell anyone else. The following day, Diddy, Cassie, and her boyfriend sat at the same table at the VMAs. Diddy got angry and yelled at them, saying that the invitation was only for Cassie, so clearly pissed that her boyfriend was there as well. And again, this didn't stop Diddy from pursuing Cassie. One night in September 2007, Cassie agreed to go clubbing with Diddy in New York. Allegedly, Diddy arrived to pick her up at her apartment, and Cassie was surprised to find out that Diddy was already extremely drunk. Once she got into his car, Diddy allegedly handed her a pill and told her to take it. Diddy refused to tell her what it was, and she later learned it was ecstasy. Diddy drove recklessly down the West Side Highway, swerving between lanes and speeding. Cassie was scared but knew Diddy's rage and didn't object. They attempted to enter the club they were going to, but security wouldn't let Diddy in because he was so belligerent. Cassie left, and Diddy messaged her incessantly all night saying she had left him high and alone. Cassie wouldn't go out with Diddy without her boyfriend, so Diddy devised a plan. Allegedly, he created a fake flyer for a party that was to be hosted by Cassie in Miami. As an employee of Bad Boy Entertainment, Cassie felt obligated to represent the label. But in reality, Diddy just wanted to get Cassie away from her boyfriend.
Yeah. Now all of this so far is pretty disturbing, but just fair warning, trigger warning before we go forward.
It only gets worse from here.
It gets a lot worse. It's very upsetting. We're going to be talking about forcing her to do drugs and physically beating her. Just horrible
straight
sexual
up domestic
acts.
violence and
it's really bad. So
sexual abuse.
Proceed with caution.
Yeah.
So on the trip, Diddy allegedly gave Cassie copious amounts of drugs, intoxicating her more than she ever had been. Cassie felt like she couldn't refuse Diddy since her career was in his hands. So there's that power dynamic. And he kept giving her drugs until they had sex for the first time. Diddy then flexed his financial control over Cassie as he paid for, lavish vacations, a Jaguar car, and multiple apartments and homes in New York and Los Angeles. All, of course, were in walking distance of Diddy's houses. Diddy maintained financial, professional, and sexual control over Cassie's life. And to ensure this, he gave her drugs to keep her intoxicated and submissive, having pills and other medications, which Cassie alleged were just out in the open. And she, quote, said that it was just like candy all around. Cassie alleged that at first she was given prescriptions that Diddy received from a doctor in Miami, but when he used up all of his supply, he demanded that Cassie acquire her own prescriptions through the same doctor in Miami to maintain his addiction. This is also when Diddy began to control her medical records, which is unbelievable, because he would have them sent directly to his email. And when Cassie experienced memory loss due to the drug use and alleged severe beatings that he would go on to give her, and we'll get more into that, she had an MRI scan completed, and the results were sent directly to Diddy, and she never even got to see them. He later asked Cassie what she called her grandfather, and she said, quote, "Pop Pop." And then Diddy asked her to call him by that name. And on at least 2 occasions, Diddy allegedly demanded that Cassie carry his gun in her purse without a clear reason. But Cassie believes it was, for him to assert his power over her and to show her that he's violent, powerful, and dangerous. Throughout the relationship, Diddy would allegedly violently beat Cassie and left bruises all over her body. After every instance, Diddy would use his power and staff to hide the evidence, keeping Cassie locked in a hotel or in his home until the bruises went away. And we will get more into that in detail here in a bit. But the first time was after a party with Jay-Z when Cassie spoke to another man. Cassie alleges that Diddy beat her violently while in an Escalade before he pushed her out of the vehicle onto 5th Avenue, and she had to walk home just totally distraught, crying all the way to her apartment. And she stayed there for 3 days after she realized there was no one she could tell about it. It's just so incredibly sad, everything that went down with her. And like we said, it just gets worse. So in January of 2009, Diddy learned that Cassie spoke to another music manager at a party in Los Angeles while they rode in a car together. And Diddy then allegedly pushed Cassie into the corner of the vehicle and stomped on her face. Diddy security tried to stop the beating, but couldn't de-escalate. Allegedly, when they arrived at Diddy's home, Cassie tried to run away, but Diddy chased her, pushed her to the ground, and continued to stomp her face.
Now, one of his bodyguards, oh man, I can't remember his name. I'm terrible with the names. One of his bodyguards tells this same story because Cassidy named him in this lawsuit that they're reading. Oh, man, I can't remember his name. God dang. It wasn't Gene, though. It wasn't the bodyguard Gene. It's the other guy, man. He's real cool. He's actually fighting for his son that is in jail in Africa or something. He's trying to get him out. So that's a whole different story.
Allegedly, when they arrived at Diddy's home, Cassie tried to run away, but Diddy chased her, pushed her to the ground, and continued to stomp her face. Cassie was brought into the house and vomited following this violent assault. And when Diddy realized the damage that he had done, he demanded that his staff place Cassie in the London hotel, where she was not allowed to leave for an entire week. Cassie realized that Diddy's staff were not only aware of the alleged violence that he committed, but were essentially covering it up. And Cassie felt like if she went to the authorities, Diddy would only buy them off and give him another reason to hurt her. So obviously she's feeling like completely trapped at this point and totally in over her head, being drugged. I mean, it's just horrendous. And within the first few months of their relationship, Diddy allegedly forced Cassie to engage in sex trafficking. He wanted to watch as Cassie had sex with other men while Diddy masturbated. Now, I'm not sure. I think many of you out there may have heard this part of it. I know this has been widely reported and discussed on the internet, these events that he would do. But the first time that this occurred, Diddy allegedly hired a male sex worker to come to his home in Los Angeles. And then the three of them wore masquerade masks and ingested drugs. And Diddy directed them to do different acts, filmed them while he masturbated. And this first encounter lasted multiple days. Now, Diddy would call these arrangements, these events, I don't even know what to call them. He would call them freak-offs. And he would want them all the time and would randomly tell Cassie when he wanted one. And she became expected to hire the sex worker, facilitate the location, and he insisted on having these weekly and repeatedly told Cassie that it was, quote, our secret. Diddy would also allegedly get violent during these freak-offs and was charged tens of thousands of dollars after destroying a hotel room at the Intercontinental Hotel in New York City. And if Diddy liked a particular sex worker, he would allegedly fly them across the country or even overseas. And his staff would help facilitate all of this by providing drugs to the various hotel suites. Diddy allegedly forced Cassie and the sex worker to take vast amounts of drugs, including ecstasy, cocaine, GHB, ketamine, marijuana, and alcohol. And Cassie not only took them because Diddy demanded, but also because it would allow her to sort of disassociate while the freak-offs were occurring. It became common for Cassie to get hooked up to an IV drip after a freak-off to recover. That's how intense this was. And keep in mind, this is happening pretty much on a weekly basis, possibly even more. Cassie alleged that Diddy recorded almost all of these encounters and began treating them like an art project. If Cassie deleted a video of a freak-off, Diddy would clarify that he not only retained all of them, but could also recover those deleted videos. And one time, they're on a flight, and Cassie had deleted a video. So Diddy allegedly showed her that he had recovered it and then forced her to watch it. And during some of these freak-offs, Diddy allegedly beat Cassie in front of the sex worker and then would give her a gift to make up for it. He had given her so many designer bracelets that she began to feel, quote, shackled by his gifts. And any suggestion that Cassie could refuse a freak-off or report his abuse would lead to Diddy saying that she, quote, had a lot to lose. He allegedly wouldn't even work on her second album without having a freak-off before a recording, before a studio session. And in August of 2015, during a surprise party for Cassie's 29th birthday, Diddy requested a freak-off in the middle of the party, and they had to leave immediately. Cassie refused, and Diddy allegedly cornered her with his security until she agreed. After the freak-off, Cassie and Diddy returned to the hotel room where her friends were already hanging out. Diddy was irritated by what one of her friends had said, and he grabbed her, brought her to the balcony. This is so insane. But then he dangled her by her ankles from the 17th floor hotel suite. And what's crazy is Cassie at this point was so sedated from the drugs during the freak-off that she didn't even respond.
Wow, that says so much.
I know, it's
horrifying.
Mind-blowing. So here's a clip of Tiffany Red, who is one of Cassie's friends, speaking about the abuse.
Oh, he's standing in the living room area and she's there. And he was like, emotional singing, there you are. And I just was like, oh, he's talking to me. And I remember, I don't know if you know what his voice sounds like, but I felt like I was in the presence of his monster inside. And I remember looking in his eyes and I said to him, what did y'all do? Because I could see that she was really sedated. That was the first time I ever seen her high before. And then he says, tell your girl she wants some birthday. And we were like, huh? Well, I mean, he's saying this to me and I'm like, well, she doesn't have to have sex with you if she doesn't want to. He was upset. I guess that she didn't want to do with him whatever he wanted. I don't know. I don't feel like I could advocate for myself in that moment. I realized oh, this guy is dangerous.
It's so hard to think that this is not true. You know what I mean? Just the stories are so detailed and so,
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
I mean, there's no way.
Again, we have to say alleged because it's just, at this point, it's not proven, but it's, I mean, I believe her 100%.
I believe her 100% also. Cassidy, and it's funny because, first of all, there are so many people, spiked drinks, it's too many people saying these things, right? You got all these people saying these things, and on top of that, you got that video that leaked. Puffy is beating up on Cassidy in that hallway. So that took all these people that's saying, then you got, I didn't even know nothing about this lady is saying that it's too many people, is what I'm trying to say, man. It's too many people coming out saying things. Which means that then you got Puffy admitting, I take full responsibility. I was at my low. I was at a low. Look, man, I'm gonna stop it right here. We try to make our videos 1 hour. Poor Cassidy, man. I am in my feelings, man, because I cannot believe I wanted to be like this man. I was doing everything I can to get into this music industry, so I would have taken any type of deal Bad Boy would have gave me, and I would have been into this mess. So this is kind of personal to me. You know, when somebody say, what would you do? I'd do anything. I was almost like, who cares about what's on the contract? Because once I get that fame and get that money, then I can go further and further. But in my mind, I'm trying to help people. Help people. From day one, man, even when I was in high school, that's what I was trying to do. Help people. And that's still my daggone number one. So y'all pray for me, man, because sometimes the stuff is hard, but I need to do this so I can help people. You got to make sacrifices. Ask Jaguar Wright. She been doing it for years. I'm just starting. So y'all stay tuned for part 2. This has been very interesting because it break down 𝗟𝗡𝗡𝗅 channel. Y'all shout out to them. I didn't mention them in the beginning, but y'all support their channel, man, because they bring in truth and everything. And this has been a great video. One of my subscribers gave me this video, so shout out to y'all. Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell. Get ready for part 2. Y'all take it low, take it light, take it slow. Tell them Uncle Mike told you so, man. Peace out. I done messed up my own ending, y'all. Stop.